So hello everyone. Welcome in. Hold on for a minute here. Interview. Okay, so on my screen here we have Ashlyn that's with us. We have to do a little bandwidth check. So let's see here if we can work this out. It was all fine until a minute ago. Okay.
That's always how
Hold
it
on. Wow.
happens.
Yeah, let's see here. Hold on. Let me do one thing. Let me check one thing as we're working live broadcasting. We love it. We love it. Let's do this here. Speed test. Let's see here. Oh, of course. It's been running smooth all day. And then we get to time to broadcast. As soon as I said that,
It heard
we
you.
jinxed it. Hold on. We jinxed it. Hold on. Let's see if this speed test works a little better. Okay, that's good. So speed test is working well.
Great.
Okay, and I see you working a little bit better. Okay, so we want to welcome to the stage Ashlyn Lipori-Russie. Welcome. That's our guest today. Round of applause.
I love the sound effects.
All right, so we are happy to have you join us today. Missing Mandy, everyone. She's on a plane coming back from Ohio, so we missed Mandy this week, but she might pop into the comment section as well. Ashlyn, to let the people know a little bit about you, maybe tell us who is Ashlyn in like 30 seconds or less.
Oh, questions like this are always difficult for me, but I guess the simplest way to explain it would be I am a journalist turned entrepreneur who is very, very passionate about making sure that people understand the news and people are able to connect with it, especially at this moment in history when more and more people are turning away from paying attention. It's, I think, my life's work to make sure that people are able to engage in a way that feels good to them and makes sense for them. I'm also a yoga
Okay.
teacher and, a mindfulness guru, some could say, and it all gets wrapped up into one thing with my business, Ask Ashlyn.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually, you were really choppy when you said that. Maybe try
Okay.
to exit the platform again, and let's see if you're smoother that time. So let's try that.
Okay, I'll be back.
We're like BRB, be right back. Okay, so Ashlyn's going to be right back in a moment for us, and we're going to fix that. The little gremlins have us, the little sound have us for today. Also, if you're watching live, make sure to follow us and on the platform you're watching on, subscribe, follow us on YouTube. Okay, so you're back there. Let's see here. Say, just count to 3 real quickly.
3, 2, 1.
You're still choppy. Let me think here. Is there a way using your ears, your ear pods? Is there a way to maybe let's try it without the AirPods? You want to try that? Let's see here.
Sure. Yeah, pop them out.
Let's just try that. And now, once you're ready, count to 3 again. Now we can't hear you at all. So now we have to change the sound at the bottom. Whew. At the bottom and see if that works. Let's see if that works. You might have to change the sound at the bottom, then you have to exit and come back. Let's see if that works. Yes, the gremlins, the sound and streaming gremlins have us this week again. No, we're not going to switch that. No. Okay. Okay, so now let's try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So we're good there. Let's rewind because you had such a good definition. Now you practice it. And tell us who is Ashlyn in 30 seconds or less.
Yes. So I am a career journalist turned entrepreneur who is very passionate about making sure that people have an easy way to connect with news, especially at this moment in history when more and more people are choosing to step away from paying attention. I think it's incredibly important that we change the way that the industry connects with audiences so that people can stay informed in a way that feels good to them and feels safe for them, as opposed to this mass exodus of information and good quality education and paying attention. So I'm also a yoga teacher, and I've done some work in mindfulness spaces, and all of that gets wrapped up into one thing with my business, Ask Ashlyn.
Okay. All right. Now you didn't talk about Dolly Parton.
Huh.
So what I want you to do is first introduce your friend that's with us
Yes.
there in the
This
stage.
is this is my cat Sage. He loves these
All right.
calls. So
Yes, yes, with
uh,
us stage.
he likes to make himself known as soon as the camera's on.
All right, of course.
Right, of
Tell
course.
us what is your favorite Dolly Parton song and your favorite Dolly Parton lyric?
Oh, Baby I'm Burning, easy. And my favorite lyric, it's in 9 to 5, and it very recent. I've loved the song 9 to 5 since I was a little kid. I grew up watching the movie, and I very recently learned when she is saying something about getting a promotion, right? Like deserve a fair promotion. For the longest time, up until a couple months ago, I believed that line was a fat promotion. I thought Dolly Parton, way back in the 80s, was using modern vernacular to discuss a sizable promotion as opposed to a fair one. And I think my interpretation of that is something she should possibly consider. These days we should really be advocating for larger promotions than a lot of people want to give.
Okay. Where does your love for Dolly Parton come from?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I've just always been a fan of her and kind of her aesthetic and the way that she tries to put kindness into the world. And her music has always been something that's just kind of been in the background as I was growing up. And I think she's just such a sweet and powerful woman, but is, also so talented. And I've just always been a fan. I actually was her for Halloween last year. And
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Okay. I always tell my music business students that Dolly Parton makes more from I Will Always Love You that was redone by Whitney Houston than
yep,
almost any of her other songs. It's just
yep,
an amazing fact. So I'm a Dolly fan. She's also very philanthropic.
yes.
She does a lot of stuff. So she's an amazing human being. So when I read that, I was like, okay, Ashlyn and I, we're gonna get along real well.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, my next question would be your Emmy. Explain the project that allowed you to get your first Emmy nomination.
It's actually a very funny story. I was working as an AM newser. That's what we call it when you're on overnight shift at a broadcast station. And it was with the morning crew. And the story that we were nominated for was actually about a man who was on the run from police. And he was trying to jump over a fence, got stuck on the fence. And when the police tried to yank him down, they pulled his pants off. And so there was excellent video of that encounter that was quite funny, and it landed us an Emmy nomination, and I wrote the story. So it was
I love it.
that's one of those little memories that's like, oh wow, yeah, got an Emmy nomination for a story about somebody getting the butt yanked out of his pants.
Okay, okay. It works, whatever works. Yes. You also mentioned your yoga instructor. How does that blend with your current work?
It's I've been an avid yoga practitioner since college, so for about 10 years now. How old am I? 12 years. And it's I'm not currently teaching at a studio, but I have over the past 10 years or so taken up different positions teaching, and I've during the COVID era taught classes outside consistently, and that was always a real treat to get to like watch the sunset as we were doing yoga. But it blends with what I'm doing now because I think so much of the problem with people choosing to turn away from news is around news overwhelm and feeling like so much of the news is bad. It affects your mental health, and people want a way to engage with the news, stay up to date that doesn't make them feel that way. And it became very clear to me about 2 years ago that there is a thread between the wellness industry and all the mindfulness practices and how much money there is to be made in wellness and solving this problem within the news industry that is people need a way to engage that protects their mental health, that addresses the fact that this is difficult for people to process. And so in my current business, what I typically do in the news updates that I send out twice a week on my platform is I will include some kind of body scan or mindfulness technique at the beginning to say like, hey, check in with yourself right now. If you're not prepared to read about nuclear war, maybe come back to this. And then after, it seems simple, right? But it's unique within the industry. And then toward the end of every post, I will do some kind of meditative practice. I'll share a meditation that I really like. I will invite people to do some kind of exercise outside of their home to help them to zoom back into their immediate life and just to help ground people. It's really all about grounding techniques and making sure that people can feel good despite what they may learn when they encounter the news.
Got it. What's your opinion on the current state of journalism?
Oh, I could talk about this. This could fill the whole hour. My opinion on the current state of journalism is optimistic, I'll say. I think there is much that the journalism industry has gotten not necessarily wrong, but has missed the opportunity to seize upon in the past few years. I think journalism historically has moved more slowly than technology, which makes sense. But that has created kind of this split between the people that are succeeding in the digital space, sharing information, whether that information is good or bad, vetted or not, ethically correct or otherwise, and journalism that has been trying to stand on these tenets, but not reaching the right audiences because they're not getting to the right places. And, I think everybody in the journalism industry right now is really trying to solve for those problems, trying to figure out how to better connect with audiences, how to make sure that things are more community driven, you're hitting people where they are. There's a lot more emphasis on hyper local journalism, which I think is incredible and where we really should be putting a lot of energy. Local media, as local media gets, or public media rather, gets funding cuts, there's a lot of emphasis put into making sure that we can continue to fund these things and developing sustainability in the industry. But all in all, news overwhelm is something that is discussed, but there aren't that many people trying to solve for it in the way that I am. And I think that is something that needs to be addressed, right? Like, of course, there are people that keep up with local news, that are avid news viewers, that are, have been part of a news practice their whole lives. Typically, those people tend to be of an older generation. And so when it comes to people my age and younger, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, what are these news outlets doing to connect with these people that don't have established news practices and that don't have the same behaviors as older generations that we've previously been able to target? So a lot of people are working to solve that question. I'm one of them. And I think, it's something that the journalism industry is really going to have to face, is the evolution of the practices and kind of the standards that have been set. This also applies to the creator economy. There's a, growing movement within the journalism space about, okay, there's so many people that are now news influencers. How do we compete with that when they're sharing information that may not be factual? And we need to be on these platforms as well with information that is factual, but might be less sexy, might be less clickbaity, might be less, eye-catching, less engaging in certain ways. And so there's a big conversation going on right now around journalism ethics and what that looks like in the creator space. And I'm so fortunate to be part of that conversation in some of the spaces that I'm in, because I think it's a very interesting question and it changes every day, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you feel that hyper localism, I think that's the term you use? What was
Yes.
it? Hyper localism is so important nowadays.
Oh, it's very easy to get lost in national news, right? That is what's coming at you all day long. It's loud. It feels like it's something you can't really escape. It's everywhere you turn, especially if you're a person who is on your devices. It seems like it's everywhere. Hyper local to me is kind of the foil to that. When you think about the big picture stuff that can be overwhelming, that you can't really do anything about, there's no tangible action that you can take as a news consumer. Hyper local is the opposite. It is, here is the news directly in your community. Here is what's happening. Here is how you can be there and be present and show up for things. Here is what you need to know to exist well in your immediate community, in your neighborhood, in your space. And I think that is a solution to a lot of the news overwhelm that we feel, as well as a lot of the apathy that people feel around news content. If we can localize things, not just in the citywide scale. I mean, I'm in San Diego. San Diego's huge. So something that's happening in the other part of the county isn't necessarily applicable to my day to day, right? But if
Mhm.
you look at hyper local, then that's okay, this is happening in my neighborhood this weekend, or this crime was just committed, and here's, and it was a person that we see on the boardwalk every day. I think hyper local is really a way to help people zoom in to what is happening in their immediate environment, and that is a huge piece of staying grounded in this news environment, is making
Yeah.
sure that you can be present in what's actually happening in your immediate space.
Okay. Which leads me to, I want to learn about how you had the courage to start Ask Ashlyn. I kind of want to ask you that first before you tell us what Ask Ashlyn is, but I'll kind of give it to you to say, how do you want to kind of give us context?
Oh, the context. There's a couple different ways to tell this story. One is I got laid off from a job, and in kind of the blur of that layoff, because I got laid off and then 5 days later my grandfather died. So summer of 2023 was a big mess of grief that I was navigating. And within that, I just kind of felt this pull of like, hey, maybe this is the moment to do that thing you've been thinking about for 10 years. And I, went with it. And here we are 2 years later with Ask Ashlyn. But the other way to tell this story is I started my career really in high school. I started to get involved in local politics. I was writing. I was the civics nerd that in my AP government class, like wrote up an election. What's the way to describe it? Like an election outlining Mitt Romney and Obama, because it was the first election that my class was able to vote in. I like wrote out all of their different plot points, all of the different California propositions, the pros and cons, and distributed it to the whole senior class because I was like, this is important. We all need to pay attention. And I've always been the person that my friends have texted when they want to know what's going on in the news. They see a headline, they text me and ask, what does this really mean? What's the context here?
Right. Okay.
So I've always been that person. And I knew one day, as I worked in journalism, as I went to Berkeley and was taking journalism classes, it became very clear to me that one day I would have to start my own thing to solve some of these problems that I was seeing, because I knew that the industry wouldn't support them. And as I worked in newsrooms and found that to be true, every time that I brought up questions about, hey, where is this going? I still got 30 years left in the game. Everything's going to change. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the evolution of this industry. When those conversations got shut down, I was like, okay, this is more fuel to the fire of me one day needing to do my own thing. And after the layoff, it just started to make sense to me that it was like, this is an opportunity to chase that dream right now and see where it takes you. So that's how it started. It is very authentic to me. My business is a complete extension of who I am and who I exist as with my friends and in my relationships. And I'm, very proud of it and very proud of the way that I'm able to help people process very difficult news.
Okay. Tell people, what is Ask Ashlyn and
Yeah.
what is the investment they have to make per month?
So Ask Ashlyn is a text message based news platform. So effectively, it is a living one-on-one conversation that is a Q&A that exists in your messages inbox on your phone. You subscribe for $10 a month, and that gets you news updates from me twice a week with only the information you really, truly need to know. Not what ifs, not this is speculated, not, anything other than what is certainly right now happening and what is certain to happen. And with that, you are able to ask me any question that you have about news that you encounter. So, for example, something on student loans. I did a series on student loans earlier this year that was, here's the breakdown of how this is shifting under the new administration. If you have questions about it, text me. Let me know what they are. And then receiving questions from the audience helps inform the future updates, because it helps me
Yeah.
to understand what people are really looking for. And not only is it a great method of engagement because I'm your journalist friend, I am a real person that you're talking to in your inbox. It's not a newsletter. It's a real conversation that you would have on your phone. It's not a group text. It's just me and you. And it's, very helpful for people, I think, because it's light touch. It's not a secondary platform I'm asking you to go to. It's not this additional thing that you need to be paying attention to in an onslaught of the hundreds of emails that we get per day. It's just a quick and easy way to communicate with a friend who understands the news and is here to help you understand the context. Excuse me. And get some media literacy and get all your questions answered.
Okay. So, so much there to unpack. Okay, I'm so excited. So, can you explain maybe your business model, how that works, with that, whatever you feel comfortable sharing? Because $10 a subscriber per month, like, how is that working? Do you have sponsors? Like, what is the business side of it? How does that work?
Excuse me while I cough through the sinus infection I've been fighting.
Yes, and as you're coughing, because I'm going to lead to a couple other questions, and I'm just curious about the business model, because there could also be some other people who might be so intrigued by this concept that you created. So I'm just curious about the business model first.
Yeah, absolutely. Texting is actually a growing feature within the journalism community. Excuse me. It's a growing feature within the journalism community that more and more people are starting to offer because they understand the value that it poses with community engagement, that kind of one-on-one relationship with your audience. But my business model, excuse me one second.
Yeah. No, take your time. We got it. Summertime, we have lots of stuff in the air, and we're just, you got the AC, and plus close to the beach, all the things.
I'm convinced many people I know are sick right now. I'm convinced it's because of the weather down here in San Diego. We haven't gotten much sunlight. I think that's messing with people's immune systems. But yeah, my business model at this point is driven by the subscription revenue. And I also am multi-platform. I have a social presence. I am on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. And I'm starting to get paid for some of that content. So that's part of the business model within the creator ecosystem. And I also, as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about new ways to engage and new revenue streams. And I'm working on launching an event series that I think will be very beneficial for people in my immediate community to process through some of their emotions around what's happening right now and just that general feeling of overwhelm, and pair it with a workout class or a yoga class or something like that. But I would say, the subscription revenue model is one that a lot of independent journalism creators are exploring right now, whether it's through newsletters or podcasts or whatever it may be. It's not necessarily unique to me, but I've found, $10 a month isn't a significant ask for the value that I'm offering. And I've heard from my subscribers, like, raise your prices because this is too good. But, I want it to be accessible to people, and I want people to be able to engage, especially people in those younger demographics who maybe are not receiving an education in civics or in journalism that I think they should be, because that's not really taught in schools. Like, how to read the news isn't taught in school, but it is something that I think is very important. Media literacy is a problem that we have all across America. And I want to be able to help people learn how to understand an article that they read, or understand that a reel you see may not be the whole context. It's 90 seconds of a very big story that has gone back years and years, right? So it's, there's, I think, plenty of value to be found within that $10. It's just about how, for other people that might be looking to duplicate the business model, it's I cannot say at this point that I'm completely self-sufficient. This business is not enough to sustain my lifestyle. I have a couple other part-time jobs I'm working with, but I believe it's something that can grow because of how much value it offers.
Okay. How do you have a staff, or is it really just you answering the questions all the time?
Just me.
Yeah. Okay. How do people, like, are you there on your phone, or you have like you go through the subtext platform? Okay, so you go through subtext.
There's a platform called Subtext that I can use on desktop or remotely. I do it on mobile all the time. But it's the interface that I use. And actually, the way that I got introduced to Subtext was one of my former college professors now works there. And so when I reconnected with him, and I, had this idea hadn't been fully cooked yet, I was just kind of ruminating on, hey, here's this problem I want to solve. I don't really know how to do it. We started chatting, and I learned, there's this platform called Subtext that would make this really, really easy. And so that's how I've been building the business thus far.
Okay. How do people find out about the service? Well, how, but what's been the most effective way for you to market and get subscribers?
At this point, it's been word of mouth. I've
Yeah.
been, I've been growing at a very metered rate. I've been working with the budget that I have. And I've done a couple different advertising opportunities, but none of them were significantly large. So it's all been word of mouth at this point, as well as my social media presence and growing my social media to help people see, hey, I'm a person that can offer good content and good context about these stories that you're seeing in the news. I also have this platform, so you don't even have to be on your phone. That's really the crux is
Yeah.
you see my video on social media, you start to develop a relationship with me, as is the creator model. Oh, but by the way, you hate seeing this on your phone? Don't worry. I'll get you off social media. Go to my paid platform. That's
Okay.
really kind of the funnel.
Okay. How do you decide which piece of news to share with the people that subscribe to the service?
My editorial process is, unique to me. I use a lot of the basic journalistic tenets that I've used since I've been working in newsrooms, but ultimately I go through all of the news that I encounter every week. And when I go to write my updates, I'll go through Google News and, check out everything that's in the top headlines, read all those articles. I will go over everything that I've seen on social over the week and saved, because people are getting news from all these sources, right? So I need to be on top of where all of the news is getting aggregated. It's not just one place. And, I'll review the top podcasts from that week and see what those topics are. And then I will put it all in a big Google Doc and kind of work my way down from a very long list of topics and a lot of context and a lot of really important detail, and then make it far more concise and make it, just as contextual, but a lot less words, as is needed for the text messaging platform. And, the point of that is there's so much news all the time. You could get lost in it. 100%. Many people do. You could spend all day watching the news. My grandparents do. They watch
Yeah.
CNN all day long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so easy to be surrounded by it and then just to kind of feel the blur of, whoa, what actually matters here? And then to get this false sense of, oh, all of it matters. I need to be anxious about this. Like there's so much happening. I don't think that's a beneficial use of time. I think what people really need is, hey, this is immediate. This is actually happening. And here's what you need to know about it. Because so much of like the breaking news model, for example, or just a journalism industry secret is these people have to put out content even when there's nothing new, right? So there could be an update that is, this thing is suspected to happen in the next 2 years. Is that something that needs to fill your time or needs to burden you in your day? I don't think so. So it's not something that I'm going to promote on my platform. It's not something that I'm going to talk about because it's not immediate. And I really think that is a shift within the news culture that people could benefit from, audiences could benefit from, because as people feel more overwhelmed, there is something to be said about less content, less consumption.
Yeah.
And that's really, I know it's the antithesis of every journalism model ever, but that's really what I'm trying to promote is we can do more and build better relationships with our audiences by doing less.
Got it. Yeah. What is the percentage of people that actually write back with specific questions, like from your subscriber base?
It's about like 20%.
Oh, okay. So they'll write back and ask more questions.
Yeah. Or have commentary or want to talk about it or, say, wow, this is crazy. I didn't know that. Like it's because it's an engagement platform. There's a lot of different ways for people to engage. Often it'll be questions, about the tariffs. And because that's a thing that is constantly giving us whiplash, right? Like it changes at least twice a week, typically. So, I'll give an update and then they'll say a couple days later, hey, I heard this changed. Oh, yes, it did. So, it's an ongoing thing, but people do engage, people do ask questions, and the people asking questions is my favorite part of the business because it helps me to understand what is actually valuable to people. I mean, I am a journalist. I have journalism brain. I see things from the perspective of somebody who works in news. And often that's not the same as somebody who doesn't, right? Like
Right.
my friends who have nothing to do with journalism, have never learned anything about journalism, have very different questions about the news than I would think. So it's a very eye-opening way to get to know what the audience needs.
Okay. Now let's combine that with like you're a content creator. So, what's your favorite platform to create content on? And how do you organize and structure your content to bring people through the funnel to kind of get them to subscribe if they you kind of have to give them chicken on a stick, so to speak.
A little bit, yeah. I would say, and I'm surprised I'm going to say this, but my favorite platform is TikTok. And if you
Okay.
had asked me a couple months ago, I would not have said that. But I am, I've been an Instagram user since Instagram was started in 2009 or whatever, or that's when I started at least. And I find more and more Instagram is still a valuable platform, but limiting. Like the content that you put on Instagram gets funneled a little bit differently. It needs to be more aesthetic. It needs to be more curated. It needs to be higher quality. And the jump into content creation for me was a difficult one. I mean, there was a lot of emotional stuff and mental stuff that kind of held me back from diving all into being a content creator. It was I've never been on air. I was never an on air news personality. I was a producer. I was a writer. I was behind the scenes. And though I'm happy to be a public speaker and to communicate with people one on one, the idea of jumping into this world of like the unknown internet where you hear how mean people are and how awful the feedback is just really held me back for a while. It was a very slow walk into being comfortable for me. Um, and TikTok, I found, is actually so much more approachable than I ever would have believed, because TikTok is really where you can be as casual as you need to be. I can show up on TikTok with no makeup on, hair in a bun, bad lighting, and just share something important. And it will be seen by the right people, and I will get the right feedback. And it's just been a very interesting journey to discover how these platforms are different and which one suits me best, because I'm not a person who gets dolled up every morning. I'm not a person who wants to make sure my lighting is always correct. That's just not authentic to me. And so it's been great to find a platform that allows me to be my authentic self as opposed to trying to be a content creator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think I saw you shared an article in the recently about how that's the trend. It's more organic content creation is actually taking fire more so than people who are doing the lighting and the videos with the captions and all the things.
Yeah, I was quoted in a Rolling Stone article
Yeah.
actually discussing.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, discussing my style of content creation, which is more low key, because there's a growing number of creators on YouTube, on TikTok, on Substack, even, who are just kind of bare bonesing it of like, hey, this is who I am, and we're going to talk about this thing as if we were talking in real life. There's no production. There's no, excess showmanship. It's just quick editing, a real conversation. It's conversational, and that's how we do it to get the thing, to get the good content out there quickly, to make sure that we're meeting the need when the need needs to be met. And I think there's something so valuable to kind of breaking those barriers for other people who might be looking to create content, or even just within this creator journalism space of, it doesn't need to be pretty. You don't need to have your whole anchor hairdo, and you don't need to be behind a desk. You can just be a journalist or a person or whatever, talking and
Yeah.
speaking into the camera, and you can have just as much of an impact and get just as many views as somebody who has that big production.
Got it. How do you manage what platforms assist you the most in terms of managing your time, managing your content schedule, and then managing the responses when the 20% are writing you back?
Managing the responses happens entirely through subtext. So I
Okay.
check in
Okay.
every day and just keep track of who's responding. It'll email me when my inbox is full or when I have something new in the inbox, and I'll be able to touch base, respond to that person. And when people sign up, I promise a response within 24 to 48 hours. So that's typically what they can expect. But in terms of like my content calendar and making sure that all of my notes are organized, that all happens for me through Google. I don't have a fancy note platform. I don't have I don't have an online organizer. I am a very pen and paper type person. So my legal pad here is full of everything that I need all the time. And I'm constantly writing, constantly crossing things off. And I have a content calendar in my Google Calendar of when dates are expected and deadlines for things. But it really, I mean, it's a one-man operation, truly, one woman rather
Yeah.
operation. Truly, I'm, bootstrapping all of this, but it's a lot of fun and it's working well.
Okay. Is there any other platform besides TikTok that maybe you're either going to start using more of, or you're thinking about maybe adding to like your kind of content creation schedule?
Oh, YouTube. I
I was
really,
I was going to ask about that, so
yeah.
tell me why. I'd like
Oh,
to.
YouTube. I mean, I post YouTube shorts, and I do have a YouTube channel. I've posted certain things on YouTube before when I've done live media literacy trainings, which is another thing I hope to bring back in the fall, but I think I'm going to switch to doing it virtually instead of in person. Um, I've like posted that on YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel for Ask Ashlyn, but one thing that I'd really love to start doing on YouTube is live shows like this one. I've heard from other journalism creators that they do like a live news hour every Monday. They go live at 5 o'clock, wait to see questions that people submit, and then respond live as if they were watching a live stream or a live show. And I think that is such a fascinating idea and such a great way to connect with audiences who are looking to engage on YouTube. And as we know, YouTube is the fastest growing platform.
Yes.
More
Yeah.
people are watching YouTube than watching TV.
Yeah.
So that is something that I really do want to start to spend more time on. But trying to do this as a solopreneur with only me doing it, I'm like taking baby steps, right? It's like, okay, master short form content, and then we'll get to long form.
Right. Right. Since you mentioned that, like as a solo one woman show, what are the different, and we call them, I've learned just the last month, we're going to call them revenue fountains because streams end, but fountains keep going
Ah,
forever. So
I love
revenue
that.
fountain, yes. What are the different revenue fountains that you have in your business that allow you to kind of diversify your income?
Right now, it is the subscription service,
Mhm.
as well as the income that I make from content creation and the videos that I post. And those are the two revenue streams related to the business at this point. I also have a donor platform where people can send me money whenever they feel
Mhm.
called to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but as I'm looking to expand and kind of grow outside, now that I've mastered these two things, I'm like, okay, let's add, right? I didn't want to fall for let's do everything at once.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
preferred to do things in a more metered way. So now as I'm expanding, I want to be doing this event series. I'm already talking to a couple different locations and places to get that set up. I think that paid events, because especially this is what I was talking about with that intersection between the wellness space and journalism. There's so much money to be made in wellness. People are so willing to pay for wellness services or things that they think will make them feel better. And journalism has historically had a revenue problem. Journalism is always looking for more money. And
Mhm.
so if I can create this event series where you're paying for wellness but getting the benefit of good quality information, that's a huge hole that has suddenly
Yeah.
been filled that I know people would be willing to pay for. So that's another idea. I'm also trying to take my show on the road, so to speak. I am working with a couple different colleges and high schools to hopefully get paid to do some media literacy training there and to do some discussions for younger people, high school students, college students about, hey, here's how you understand the content that you see on social media. Here's how to understand when you see a reel about a news topic. Here's how to read an article. Here's how to, if you see a headline and a push alert, here's how to really make sense of it. Because that education, I think, is going to be increasingly important. And they're not teaching it in schools, as I've already mentioned.
No.
So I'm
Yeah.
happy to be that person and to help people understand, here's what you need to know to really be a good citizen, if for lack of a better expression, right? Like to be engaged and to understand how to engage well, as opposed to just getting swept up in the media ecosystem, as so many people do, and then feel
Yeah.
bad when they get overwhelmed.
Right. Okay. Now we kind of come to the point in the show where we flip the script and let you ask me, since it's just me today, no Mandy. We miss you, Mandy.
We do miss
Any
you.
question you like. So what question do you want to ask me? And let's hear what you think.
Yeah. So, as I was prepping for this podcast, I looked into you and, checked out your LinkedIn and saw some of what you're up to. And I'm curious, as a person who seems to be a jack of all trades in sorts, and I'm, working on building myself up to be one as well. I mean, I could say that I am now, but there's always more,
Mhm.
right? Like the entrepreneur brain is always coming up with new ideas and figuring out how to fit them into your schedule to act on them. I'm curious, what are some of your techniques or tactics or strategies to balance doing everything at once?
Yeah. Well, thank you for looking into me. So that's
Yeah, of
cool. I
course.
try to like kind of batch my time. Like for example, yesterday I spent probably a good 2 hours doing videos that I will put on a TikTok, a YouTube, and an Instagram for the next 2 weeks. So I did that block of time. So that's done for the next kind of 2 weeks. I don't have to do that again, except in a week, I'll probably do two more.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Then I try to like block my calendar out. Like today, I had to block my calendar out to uh, create or recreate my syllabus for the upcoming semester and the class discords. So if I can bucket my time and batch my activities, that kind of helps me keep kind of going forward. And then, like for example, then later on today, I'll work on a couple speeches I have to give. So I
Hmm.
pretty much have a nice schedule and I can bucket my time so that I'm kind of always accomplishing things. And ironically, I'm trying to actually do less. Like I'm really trying to focus in on like my niche,
Yeah.
like helping creatives monetize their art. That could be a musician who's working full time that wants to kind of grow their music, or it could be an author that's also wants to write a book, just doesn't know the process. Those are kind of my two sweet spots to helping people. So I'm really trying to hone in on those two groups of people. Um, in terms of my content, in terms of what I'm doing, and my business development. So I think the key for me is to block my time out. So all different parts of the day, I'm doing things that can help me make my long-term goal.
Mhm.
Plus, I have a VA that helps me grade papers.
Oh, there you
And
go.
then I have someone that helps me kind of on a part-timeish basis with PR. So I have different people to help me. That's kind of how I would ask that question.
Oh, great.
Answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
time blocking is something that I find to be critically important in the day
Yeah.
to day of like, okay,
Yeah.
here's the 2 hours I'm spending on this. Here's the 2 hours I'm spending on this, because it's so easy to just spin on your head if you don't have
Yeah.
that kind of organization in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely
Okay.
understand.
Now, since Mandy is not here, you get a bonus. You get to ask a second question if you like. So, do you have
Oh,
a second question that you would like to ask?
yeah, I would. This one's going to be about music. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Yes.
What has been, because I've seen this debated, what has been your song of the summer?
Ooh, song of the summer. For me, I think it's gonna be "Mutt" by Leon Thomas.
Oh,
Cause
it's a great
yes, I think that's gonna be the song of the summer. I'm tempted to pick something by Tyler, but she was kind of a couple summers ago with Water. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Leon Thomas Mutt, and then the 1B would be the remix he has with Chris Brown, which is also a very good remix. So that
Oh, I
would
haven't
be
heard that remix.
yes,
I'll have
that
to
would
check
be
it out.
1A, 1B. Yeah, I think that's what I'll go with. Great question.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
All
I
right.
love that song. I,
Yes.
discovered it through TikTok. It's always crazy
Yep.
to
That's the
how the
thing
media
now.
landscape has changed.
Yes, you find it on TikTok first, so it's ironic.
Yeah,
Now,
certainly is.
if I'm talking to Ashlyn, August 18th, 2030, 5 years from now,
Ooh.
where would you like to see Ask Ashlyn be?
Huh. 10 years, Ask Ashlyn will probably be sold. But
Mhm, mhm,
but I would, my vision, my journey is really to keep growing this model of engagement, not just in texting specifically, but in helping people manage their emotions around difficult news,
mm,
because and helping people to decompress. Kind of the tagline that I have is, I'm the friend that helps you understand the news and helps you decompress from it. Because
mhm.
I think, based on what we're seeing politically right now and in the news ecosystem right now, it's not slowing down. Like the
Yeah.
pace that we have right now is not going anywhere. And with technology, with AI, with continued advancement, it's only going to become less clear when something is real, when something is factual, when something is actually worth your time, or when something is meant to just consume your engagement. So I think there is an endless uphill stream of, I suppose streams don't flow uphill, maybe they do, but it continuous, like there's a mountain to climb. There will always be something new to discover in terms of helping people to manage everything new that is coming at them and the pace that it is coming at them. And I think I absolutely plan to be spending the next 10 years working on that in whatever form it may be. Ask Ashlyn as a text messaging platform may only exist for a couple of years, but the concept of helping people to stay grounded among, or amid rather, difficult content is something that
Right.
isn't going anywhere. So we'll see how it evolves with AI and with the news and with the changes that we see politically. But it's, I plan to spend my life on this.
So I have two follow-up questions. Since you mentioned AI, what's your thought? Like someone will be like, "Oh, I can just create a bot to do that for me." What's your response?
I've gotten that question so many times. My response to that is no. Because I think that there's just different use cases, right? There are people who would be happy to talk to a bot and, blindly trust it and believe that everything that the bot tells you is correct and then go about your business. That's not me. That's not the people that I'm trying to engage with. That's not my audiences. I think that human connection and the human relationship of, hey, I'm a real person with real thoughts and feelings that has really done the research on this is so valuable, especially in the world where everything is becoming AI. There are the people who are using ChatGPT as a therapist, and there are the people that are seeing real therapists in real life. I'm speaking more to the people that want the real life connection.
Okay.
And, I think at some point I use AI. I can't say that I don't use AI. I use it for, information gathering. I use it to help me organize. I use it to help me strategize social media plans sometimes, but it's not a be all end all for me. I think the real human relationship is going to become increasingly important, and I want to preserve it as
Okay.
best I can.
Okay, my follow-up. So I'm going to kind of float an idea to you and get your perspective because I teach music business,
Okay,
and so I'm kind of known as the professor.
great.
And so if we created a service like Ask the Professor where people are asking me questions about the music business because there is so much. There's a huge knowledge gap. So it's different from news because it's like it's not as fast in terms of things are happening, but there is a huge knowledge gap between the artist, and these are your most famous artists who just don't know, to the up and coming new ones. So if there was a text-based service similar to Ask Ashlyn, I'm not trying to copy you, but just really, what is your thoughts on using something similar? I'm just curious.
On using a bot
Not a
or
bot. No, no, no. The human part is which I really resonate with what you said. The human,
yeah.
like someone saying, "Oh, what about my publishing royalties?" Or they have a question about, "Well, what does this new law affect how things happen for me as a musician?" Or, well, let me ask you that, then have a follow-up to that too.
Well, I could help you with that. I also do consulting. I didn't mention
Okay, see, I was just going to
revenue
mention that.
stream.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Sign me up. I'll be your first or second client. Sign
Yeah,
me up.
no, hit me up, hit me up. No, I do consulting for social media as well, and for engagement, audience engagement on all platforms. That's social media for journalists typically, but audience engagement for whomever might be inquiring.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think the text message model is incredibly valuable, and I would encourage you to do that. I'd be happy to chat about it, because another kind of element of the text message relationship is, as we discuss media overwhelm, as we discuss particularly younger audiences, as I keep mentioning, there's that divide. The AI divide is present there as well. There are the people that are all in on AI, that want to do everything digitally, that don't want to speak to real humans. But there's also a growing number of younger people and students who are like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm going analog. And you can capture those analog people with that one-to-one connection on a platform like texting, because everybody has a phone. Even if you have a dumb phone, you can still subscribe to what I'm doing, right? And I know more and more people that are wanting to get rid of their smartphones and switch back to, some kind of Nokia brick, even though I don't
Mhm.
know if they sell those anymore. um, I think that, it's, as everything in the technological space gets bigger and more overwhelming and more all encompassing, there's a growing number of people that are like, wait, I need to slow down. I need to minimize. I need to make this easier to understand. And those are the people I'm speaking to. And I think those are the people that you might be trying to speak to as well. And,
Yeah.
a Q&A is such an easy way to make sure everybody's needs are met.
Hmm.
I think it's such an easy opportunity for people to engage because it's so simple from the space that you sit in as the business owner or as the journalist or whatever to assume that you know what people are looking for, because we develop an idea in our heads as we're trying to execute this vision that we know exactly what these people need. But when you get questions, you find, oh no, what I would have thought was important is not what is important.
Yes. Yes.
And so being open to that feedback and being open to receiving questions, it can be scary, I suppose, because you might get put on the spot in a way, but that then just a learning opportunity for you to, oh, you know what? I hadn't thought of it that way. Let me go look this up. Let me see what the answer is. Let me help you grow and help myself grow in the same time through this process of like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was something that people would have cared about. But clearly it is. So it's something I should be focusing on as I build my business. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Okay.
a lot to say, but
That's a great answer. And I was hoping I was going to mention consulting anyways, but that it was just a natural way
yep.
the conversation flowed. Do you feel the same model will help? Because as an author, especially a two-time author, and one that earned USA Today bestseller status, I get a lot of questions on book touring, marketing, finishing. That similar same kind of text model would also apply to that as like they call it like a top of the funnel. So like you can
Hmm.
meet me and text me back and forth and get to know each other. And then if you want more coaching, you can come down the funnel to pay more. And if you want
Yep.
really kind of done for you services, you can come down the funnel and pay more. Do you feel that same model could work also in terms
Yeah,
of the book?
I've been thinking about how I can build out the texting model because on the subtext platform that I have right now, there's only one tier. There's
Yeah.
only the subscribers and that's it. But I would love to develop, whether it's on subtext or off. There's been conversations with one of my contacts about potentially building our own texting platform, TBD on that. But I would love to develop that kind of funnel model where here's the top, here's the free version, similar to what Substack does with different newsletter subscribers, right? Like there's
Yeah.
different tiers of the newsletters. I think that that model would be fabulous for texting. It's just, there's a lot with texting in terms of the carriers and there's rules and SMS regulations and stuff that kind of get in the way. It's not as easy as email, but not impossible, not something that can't be
Yeah.
overcome. I do think that especially for business development, as you were discussing, that would be beneficial, but also just as an entry point, right? Like
Right.
there's many people that encounter me that love what I'm doing, that want to hear all about it. And then as soon as they subscribe, they really, or, as soon as they get to the website, they're like, oh, immediately hit with the paywall. And that stops a lot of people.
Mhm.
And I wish there were a way around that, but it's just the way that the platform works. It's not in my control. So I think, kind of being able to walk people through the journey of getting to know your platform is something that will always be more successful. But it's just, I'm working with the limitations that I have right now. But I do think in time, that's something that I would love to adopt.
Okay. Okay. Don't go anywhere after the interview. Just want to say that. So
Oh, yeah,
my
no worries.
final, the final question for you is, well, I have two final questions.
Okay.
If we go back and talk to Ashlyn as she's walking across stage at UCal Berkeley on graduation day
Oof.
and give her advice based on everything you've learned so far in the short amount of time that it's been since you graduated, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't doubt a single thing.
Mm.
It's I've always been a big picture person. I'm a big picture thinker. I like to do the big idea stuff. And I'm comfortable there. I think it's so much fun. I love theory. I love big conversations. Like it, even just in personal conversation. It's like I want to talk about the big stuff. Let's talk about politics. The
Mhm.
conversations everybody shies away from, right? And when you're getting to know yourself when you're young, not that I'm not still young, I'm still quite young, but even through that journey, you doubt yourself. You doubt these thoughts that you have. You doubt the visions that you have. You start to see how the world works, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I could execute that. I don't know if this is something that could be overcome. And while the doubt has never been the loudest voice, I've always been tough in my conviction that this is what I'm meant to do and that I will be the person to solve it with help. Um, But I did, at different stages of my career and kind of the jump that I took from journalism, out of journalism, back into journalism, there were moments of, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm on the path. And now that I see it 10 years later, full circle, didn't need to doubt a moment of it. It all made sense. It was, and I knew at the time it was the right decision, even if it didn't feel like it. But hindsight is 2020, and
Yeah.
there's just, I think kind of questioning yourself is an important part of life. It's good to look back at your decisions and say, okay, was that, even in your day to day after a conversation with somebody, how did I show up in this conversation? What did I like? What can I change? I think doing those kind of check-ins is important, but at the same time, for all of the stuff that I was worried about when I was younger, didn't need to. I've been on my path and I knew it, and it's been carved for a long, long time.
Excellent. Excellent. How can we best support you? Lift you up, share the word. What can we do to help?
Yeah, lifting me up and sharing the word is critical. Absolutely. If you subscribing to my platform would be the number one. I would love to get some new subscribers out of this and to just help more people get news that is easy. The buffer between hard news and easy delivery. That's what Ask Ashlyn is. So I would love to, if you could subscribe and share it with other people. That's one of the big things is when you encounter this platform and start to see the value in it, share it with somebody you think would benefit, because everybody knows somebody who's feeling some type of way about the news right now. You cannot hit a rock without finding a person who's like, I don't want to pay attention. And those are the people I'm talking to. But it's been a marketing challenge to find people who don't want to be found,
Yes.
So, but we all know them. They exist in conversation. So share my platform, share my social media content. If that is something that, is a language that you speak and a platform you want to be on, find me on YouTube. Check out my website, askashlyn.co, for more information on the whole thing and more information about me and my bio. But yeah, check out the Subtext platform and start texting me. Ask me your questions. I'm here as a resource, and I really think we can change the way that news is communicated so it doesn't have to be the way it has been.
Amazing. All right. Well, I just first want to compliment you on just being so creative and thinking of a unique way to address a major issue. I haven't really never heard of something like this, so it really caught my eyes and my mind. And then talking to you more in person about it's just really opened my mind up to more. So I just want to compliment you on that, because it's not often people try to attack a problem that is big, but people don't want to talk about. So keep up the great work. So great to meet you. I'm so sad that Mandy missed it, but I think we did her proud with this episode, because a lot of great information. So let's give a round of applause to Ashlyn Lipori-Russie. Round of applause here. Awesome. And for those of you that are watching the show, we're taking a 2-week break because we have Mandy and I are both traveling next week. Then we have Labor Day, so we'll be back in 3 weeks. I believe 3 weeks will be, let me think here, September 8th. We'll have another episode then. In the meantime, you can watch our shorts, all the things. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Share it with a friend. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave a rating, review, all the things. Thanks again to our guest today, Ashlyn. And with that, we will see everyone next week. Not next week, 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks.
Or yes, 3 weeks from now. And we'll see you soon.